There we go. And we are live. Right. Okay. Let me just get that out of the way. Back over there. And okay. Can Let me get that over there. Okay. Uh, 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 share. Copy. Do apologize for the delay, people. Today, I have to say, it's just been a bad week. Here we go. There you go. There's your stream. Click the stream, and you should be good. Shout me if you don't get the stream, and we'll get moving. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is mute my mic in here, because otherwise you'll get a delay. And we should hopefully have me on the stream. Right. If there is any problems, let me know. Okay, so as I was saying, we've got our default cube. Yeah? So I'm just going to go File, New, General, just to make sure everything's tidy, and I've got my default cube. Okay. I'm going to go straight. I'm going to go immediately into edit mode to show you something. Yeah. So here up at the top, I've got select mode. I've got the vertexes we've just been talking about. So there, I can select an individual vertex, just one. I can move my vertex around. Yeah, etc. But I'm only affecting that one vertex. Control Z. The other thing I can do is I can select edge mode. And now I'm going to select an edge. And you're moving your edge around. Okay. And the last one I've got is your face mode. And now we're moving the face. Yeah. Okay. So there's your three modes. That's your theory. Vertex, edge, face. So now you know me when I say each one. And now I'm immediately going to go object mode. Right. The next thing I'm going to do, and most of the rest of this will be going on about modifiers. Okay. Modifiers are kind of modifiers are important when it comes to Blender. Okay. So I'm going to click my cube. I'm going to add a modifier to it. Yeah. Now if you're on not on 4, if you're still on 3s, these are stacked up together, but they're in the same order. Just as easy to show you in 4 as 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little modifier called an array. Now an array is a set of objects. Yeah, if you can see, I've got options here. So I can either make my array go on the x-axis, or, as I want to do right now, I'm going to put 0 in the x-axis, and I'm going to put 1 in the y-axis. Now I've got 2 of them. Yeah. Now if I was to change my count up, I can go 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. They're actually the same, exactly that cube. Whatever I do to that cube will happen to all 6 of them. Now I can make a gap between my cubes by increasing that. So rather than just being 1, the same size as the cube, I can go to 1.1 and etc. up. Yeah. So I can make a big long row of cubes. Yeah. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Okay. Now I'm going to show you something that's a little bit strange. Modifiers are a non-destructive workflow. What do I mean by non-destructive? Okay, well, if I go back into object mode to edit mode, and I work on my cube, okay? I'm going to select all of my cube, and I'm going to add this one down here, which is a bevel. Okay? And I'm going to make my bevel like that. Okay? And I can come down here, because I've just selected it. I can make various changes to my bevel. So I can change the width, and I can change the number of segments, so the number of cuts individually down the edge of the bevel, etc. But when I click off my bevel, okay, and I've moved on to do something else, I've now decided that I don't like that bevel. It's too big. Okay. I can't go back because the mesh has been changed. I can Control Z and go all the way back through, which is what I've just done. If you Control Z, or yeah, I'll do it again. So I'll put the bevel on. You can see, like so. Add some segments to it. Yeah. Okay. But I can't go back. So what I'm going to do now, or if I move on to the next step, I can't go back. What I'm going to do now is edit and undo, because I'm going to show you a better way of adding bevels. And the way we're going to add the bevel is over here. Back into my modifiers. Now modifiers, I can apply lots of modifiers to the same mesh. But whatever modifiers at the top happens first, whatever modifiers at the bottom happens last. So I'm going to add a new modifier there, and I'm going to do a generate, and I'm going to do the bevel modifier. And now I can do the same thing as we did last time. I can move these, but down here I can make my bevel amount, and exactly the same as I did last time, the number of, so nice and curved. But if I decide that that bevel is too much, I can modify my bevel and come back down. So it's just a little bit on the edges. Okay. Interesting. Now, I want to do some more stuff to my modifiers. Okay. So that's bevel and array. Okay. Now, if I'm going to do something now, I'm going to edit the mesh. So I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. So I'm going to go back into edit mode, and you'll find yourself doing this a lot as you're working. Yeah. And I'm going to move this mesh face, and I'm going to take it down. Yeah, like so. And you notice all the other ones, see, they're all moving the same. Yeah. And now I'm going to bring my Y on my array back. I'm going to build them slightly back into each other. But I'm also going to add an X to it. And what am I making? I'm making stairs. There you go. Nice easy staircase. You could walk up the thing. Yeah. Okay. So you got stairs. Okay. But my stairs are too big. Now, if I'd done it without the modifiers, I'd have to go in and edit each individual stair. But I don't need to, because this is the only one that's an actual stair. These are just the array of extra ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my edit mode. I'm going to select the back face over there, and I'm going to make my stairs narrower. And notice it's relative to the object. So as I make those stairs narrower, the actual thing becomes shorter. So, and now it's relative to local space. Local space means the space of the actual mesh, the object you're working on. Yeah. So now I've got my steps, very snazzy steps, and I can put as many steps in as I like. See? going up and up and up and up and up. Stairway to heaven. So, as I said, we have the array modifier, making from our one piece of mesh, making lots of copies of it that I can put in a big long line in various directions. I've then got my bevel modifier, okay, which bevels the edges of my objects. And it's as easy as that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to move that out the way. Yeah. And it's not going to let me do it. Why? Because I'm still just got the one face selected. So I'm going to edit, undo. I'm going to select all, and I'm going to move it over there, out of the way. Okay, because we're going to do something slightly different. Okay, now, last week, if you were here last week, and let me bring my TAs that I just arrived. Last week, if you were here last week, you will have done the we'd have worked with when we were finishing the last table. We worked a little. We worked with the mirror modifier a little bit, okay, but we didn't do very much with it, okay. So that's what I'm going to actually do. I'm going to do a little bit more on the mirror modifier, okay. Well, hello. Let's do mirror modifiers. So I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to go back to object mode. Yeah. And I'm going to make another add mesh cube. Now you will notice none of the modifiers I've added to that mesh are on this mesh. Okay. Each mesh is separate. But what I'm going to do on this now is I'm going to do a little bit of stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start us off by moving the mesh around a little bit. So I'm going to go to edit mode, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add our first modifier. I'm going to add the modifier, yeah, and I'm going to use another modifier called subdivision surface. There is a reason why we're using subdivision. What all subdivision does is, as you can see, it's taken my cube and it's kind of turned it into a very weird looking circle. But if I tell it the level and up the level of the subdivision, all the subdivision doing is slicing evenly the mesh into smaller pieces. But again, it's a non-destructive workflow. So I can still go back into edit mode, go back into here, and I can still move this. Right. Let me just go round. I can still move this face and move it that way. Yeah. And I could take this face and move it that way. Okay. I can still move my mesh around. Notice I'm still just moving a cube, but the modifier is applying as I'm moving it. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it like that. Now, last week, one of the tools we were working with was our loop cuts. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to do some loop cuts. The first loop cuts I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down the middle. Chomp. Okay. Notice my loop, because I put it in there, is affecting the modifier and pushing it out slightly. So I'll take the face mode. I'll go back to this face mode, back to this face, and I'm going to drag this face back in slightly. Yeah, like so. I'm then going to take my mirror modifier. Sorry, my loop cut, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I've got 4 sides of a mesh. Yep. So you can see them. Yeah. The next thing I will be doing, yeah, okay, is I'm going to go, okay, I don't want to work with all that mesh all the time. Yeah. I want this side, to be exactly the same as that side, irrelevant to what I'm doing. Yeah. Regardless. Now you notice, because we moved this side is slightly smaller than that side. But I'm not worried. Because what we're about to do is we're about to get rid of this side. I'm going to go to the point select. I'm going to put X-ray mode on here. Now X-ray allows me to see the mesh behind it. So this object, any mesh in it, and I'm just going to select all of those. So you can see it's a quick and easy way of selecting everything there. Yeah. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete those vertices. Yeah. And we've got rid of the vertices, done. But it's looking a bit hollow now because I've only got 1/2. So I'll add my modifier. I'll get my mirror modifier. And we are going to put another one of them on the Y. Now you'll notice they are quite a bit different apart. Going to put the clipping on. Yeah. And the reason for that is the origin of the object. Yeah. Modifiers work on the origin. So we'll talk about the origin a little bit. Right? To talk about the origin, I'm just going to go to edit mode. I'm going to go to select all. Yeah. And if I go to move, see my origin that's there? Well, that's what's causing, because it's in the center of that mesh, and I kind of need to be in the center of here. So I'm going to move the 2 halves. Yeah. And as I move that one will move in the opposite direction because it's a mirror. Okay. So we'll do that again. Mirror. Yeah. Sorry. Mirror. And I'm just going to move them so they're next to each other like so. Yeah. Now I need to be on so they're right next to each other like so. And can anybody tell what I'm making here? Well, I don't know if you can, but we're actually starting making a very strange looking head type shape. But, and we could continue with this. So if you give me a second, I'll just select on those edges, those vertices. Yeah. And I'm going to move them in like so. And notice it's creating what's going on here? That's right. Well, the reason is I've got 2 axes here. So I'm mirroring it on the y-axis and the x-axis. And you only actually want one. Yeah. So now I'm just going to drag that in like so. Yeah. And we've got our mirror modifier. Okay. So if I was then to say do a loop cut here, it loop cuts. Yeah. If I take the edges at the top, so edges at the top, or the vertices, doesn't matter which, because if I then use my scale tool to scale them in, yeah, notice both sides are scaling in. But I've got a problem because I'm splitting in the middle. So let me edit, undo. Now what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to take these edges, just these, and I'm going to move them in instead. So I'm going to move those in, and then I'm going to take the 2 at the back edge, and I'm going to move those in as well. Scale, not move. Scaling them in, like so. Yeah. And as you can see, I can start to make well, kind of ish a face type shape. Yeah. Need to take this one, one vertices that's at the front. Yeah. And I need to bring it back so it's a little bit less smoothed out. And we're done. Okay. So you can see, take a little bit of time of work, but you can make a face. You could actually carry on with that face. Right now, I don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to. So what I'm going to do, object mode, I'm going to move that over. And what we're actually going to do today is we're going to use our modifiers. Notice our modifiers to make a sofa. That's what we're making. Now, last week I talked about references. And yes, I should get references, should definitely get references, must get references. Okay? However, over the past several years, I've made this particular sofa that many times that, well, I kind of know what it looks like already. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I've gone back to object mode. I'm clearing these out my way. Yeah. And I'm going to do some simple ones we've already used to make a sofa. So I'm going to add mesh cube, default cube. Doesn't look much like a sofa, does it? Nope. Well, that's what it's going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is do some little bit of tweaks. So first of all, your sofa is a little bit too high. So I'm going to take my face select the top face, make sure I'm on the move tool, just move that top face down. Yeah. And I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to go to front view by pressing the little red X over here so I can see what it is, and I'm going to bring him up so he's kind of on the floor. The green line there is the base, blue line center. If I go around on the y-axis, red line base. Yeah. So if I swing around, you'll be able to see it. X is red, Y is green, blue is up and down. So I've got my little box. Yeah. Now it's not going to be a very long sofa, is it? No. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, I could drag out the base, but I don't want to. Don't want to drag out the base. What I'm going to actually use is I'm going to use a mirror modifier. Sorry, not a mirror modifier, an array modifier. So let me just go add, generate array. I'm going to take it off the X because I don't want them going that way. I want them going that way, and I want 3 of them. Yeah. Okay. No, not 3. I want 1 in there. I want 3 in that box. So 3 across, but all next to each other. Yeah. Okay. Now see here, I've got merge. I want to merge them because that will get rid of the extra faces. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to merge by distance, and where it says caps down here, I could end up with extra caps. Yeah. I'm actually going to use some caps in a few moments. There are several ways of doing the arms. I'm going to use caps for this one. We could do it more later. But the next thing I'm going to do is, so I've got my array of 3 boxes. Yeah. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on them. So I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to click on them, and I'm going to duplicate them. I'm then going to move them up so they're on the top of it, like so. And then, because what I'm making now is cushions. So edit mode, And then again, I've only got one cube, even though I copied it. It took the modifiers with it, but I only have one cube. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move it down so it's a bit more sofa sized. Yeah. The next thing I'm going to do is, so I've got my array. All I've got is an array of boxes. Well, I'm going to use our friend bevel from before. Yeah. And I could, so this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to bevel and just bevel the edges. And you will see object mode. I've now got 3 bevels. Okay. But they're a little bit big. One big long sheet. That's not what I want. So I'm going to go back into edit mode. And I'm going to, still working on my faces. And I'm going back to X-ray mode so I can see through it. I'm going to select that face. And I'm going to bring it in slightly. But what happens? Well, it's dragging the whole thing in. And I'm going to bring this one in slightly. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so it goes back to there. Yeah, so I can play with it. And I can play with it to my heart's content. I know because I've done this that many times. The actual size I want is 1.05. That's a personal preference. It's just how I like it to look. Oh, 1.05. There you go. Because it gives me a little bit of an edge. If you go back to solid mode, you'll be able to see it better. And take the X-ray mode off. You'll be able to see a little bit of edge there. Okay. But my cushions aren't looking very much like cushions. Well, I could go and increase my bevel. And I can increase the size of my bevel, or I can increase the number of segments of my bevel, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm knocking my bevel up to 4, the amount down to 1, and now I have cushions. So you've got seat cushions. Notice I'm still using a non-destructive workflow. So if I wanted to, I can still go in and move the size down, etc. Now, so I've got cushions. The next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to put the back on the sofa. Okay. So I'm going to go to object mode. We'll take the back base of the sofa. I'm going to duplicate it again. I'm going to move it back. So it all lines up. And then I'm going to take, moving across. Take this one. And I'm going to slide that all the way in. Like so. And then I'm going to bring this up so it looks like the back. Okay. Now, that would do as a back, but it's a bit straight. To my mind, I'm going to get a bad back. So now you're quite welcome to leave it straight if you wish to. I'm going to go in and click here on the loop cut. And I'm going to put a loop cut in right there at that edge. The next thing I'm going to do, so it lines up roughly with there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top edge, top face up here. Yeah. Go to face mode. Click that face, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to move it backwards. Now, remember, because it's saving myself a lot of time, because what I've done is you'll notice the rest of the back comes with me. even though I'm only actually moving one of the seats. Yeah? Okay, so now I've got a back and I've got some cushions. Okay, the next thing I need to do is some cushions for the back, otherwise I'm going to end up with a bad back. So I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to duplicate it once again. And I'm going to rotate it. Now, if I was to rotate it where it is at the moment, I could do it, but it might take me a few minutes. But I'll show you first, because it's going to rotate it like that. It's going to rotate it round the middle. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing this. I'm going to show you one I use a lot, which is over here. Tools. I've gone to tools up here at the top. I'm going to affect only origins, because this point here is the origin, the center of it. I want to move that point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my origin, just my origin. So I'm going to move the origin so it's at the back of the seat. And at the same time, I'm going to move it so it's in the back of the seat, in the center. Going to check, just make sure I get it in the middle of the cushion. Yeah. Now, that is, that I could work with. But if I put it here, the top of the cushion, what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to rotate it around that point, which is actually, in this case, what I want. Yeah. I want to rotate it around that way. Now, please don't forget, otherwise you will be sitting there going, what happened? Yeah. Take the effect only origin off. Yeah. Go back to your rotate. And now, nice and easily, he says it stuffs it up. Nice and easily, if you take the green one, you can rotate it just on that axis. And same sort of angle as the back. I'm going to move it over. Now, my sofa, well, the cushions are looking a bit high. The back cushions, that is. And this is kind of like the wrong way. So, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back to Object, Edit Mode, because I need to change it. I need to change the mesh. And I can move that, and I can move it down. But however, watch what happens when I move it down. I move this down here, and notice where it's cutting through the back. Don't want that. That'd be bad. So what I'm going to do, edit, undo that. And up here, you've got orientation. Yeah. Movement orientation. You've got default, which is a world space. I want to go to normals. The normals being the individual faces, which way the face is pointing. I want to go down that way. And now when I move it, keeps the angle. So, I've now got my back of my chair. I've got my cushions. I'm done. That's it. You've got a sofa. But, well, maybe it's a bit of a cheap sofa. But maybe we want some ends for the sofa. Now then. Okay. I could come off here. Object mode. And I could take this. I could make just one, use my middle modifier, and put it down that way, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a duplicate of this again. I'm going to move it over this way, just a little bit. So I don't need my arm to be huge. And I'm going to go back to edit mode. I'm going to now go back to my modifiers, and I'm going to get rid. Notice it copied the array. I don't need the array on this one, so I'm getting rid of it. Don't need it. Yeah. Okay. What I do need is I need to go back to X-ray view so I can see through it. Select that face, that's the one I want to move, and I want to bring it over here. Yeah, just like that. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top face, because the amp's looking a bit low, so I'm just trying to get the top face, which is that one there, and I'm going to drag it up a little bit, like so. Yeah, and now I've got a nice little amp. So, as I said, we'll use our friend mirror modifier again, because I want one on the other end. So if I add mirror, there we go, got my mirror modifier, mirror, and I want my mirror, yeah, modifier, just give a second, I want my mirror to be on the Y. But you see what's happened? My arm's now in the middle of my sofa. That's not what I want. Now I could mess about with moving things around. I could try and maybe use mirror object, which will mirror either side of the object. But again, it won't work because it's only doing one arm, because this is an array. I've not applied the array. As far as Blender knows, it's still that one thing. Yeah? Okay. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this. I'll show you an easy method. Yeah? I'm going to leave it as it is for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another piece of mesh. So object mode, I'm going to add a piece of mesh. But I'm going to add mesh, and where am I? No, I'm not. I'm going to add empty. Now an empty is an object that's just basically a holder object. It doesn't show any mesh, it doesn't show any geometry, it's just a holder object. But I'm going to go plane, axis, because it's the one I use. You can use any of them, but I use that one. And now what I'm going to do is I know now I go back into this one, that object. If I tell it here to use the empty as a mirror object, yeah, okay, I can now move my mirror, okay, and it will move this, okay, as you can see, mirror moving it, yeah, okay, I can make it big and long. So what I'm actually in essence doing is moving the mirror. Moving the mirror, and but I'm not. You'd think that would work differently. Well, the reason is, and it's a common mistake, is I'm going to select the empty. That's the mistake I'm making. Right, and now I'm going to put the empty in the middle of the sofa. Yeah? Okay. Going to make sure that one right on the edge of the sofa. Go back to my empty and just move it over a little bit more so that one ends up aligned. And there you go. We've got two arms. Yeah. The empty I can use to control the size of the mirror. Okay. So, two arms. Looking good. Starting to look a bit sofa-like. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, well, not quite last thing, but one of the things I'm going to do with my sofa next is these are going to look a little bit tough to actually, a bit hard for your arms. So we're going to add some cushions to the arms. Now, I've seen this done a million times, so I'm going to show it the way I've seen it done many, many times. And, well, to me, I don't quite like it. What they do is you take this cushion, I've already got the bevel attached, yeah, and they go and they copy it, duplicate it, they put it on top of their arm, like so. They then take off, go into back into modifiers here, and they take off the, and then they go, okay, I've got it done, and then they'll go back to edit mode, and they'll slide this down here, like so, and they leave it like that. Yeah, my stream has stopped. Okay, I don't know why. Yeah. Okay. So let me just go through, because unfortunately it sounds like my stream paused for a second. So I'm just going to repeat a couple of steps. Well, it's easy to repeat for you. Okay. My arms. Let me just go back in, and what I've done, okay, is let me come back out. Control Z. We'll just step back through those in a minute. Luckily, I'm using a non-destructive workflow, so we can go backwards. Yep. So, and that's what I think it was. So, we've got the two arms. We've used the mirror modifier on the one arm and to do the other one. But this arm's in the wrong place. Okay? It's in completely the wrong place because it needs to be down there. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I could try and play around with this, but it's not going to work, because if I, regardless of what I use as my origin, it won't work, because, well, it's kind of in the wrong place. So there is another way of doing this, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to use an empty. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go back to object mode, and I'm going to go object, and I'm going to create an empty. And you think after just doing it, I go add empty. I'm going to use a plain access. You can use any of the others because they are all just empty objects. I just prefer a plain access. So I've got the plain access. If I can try and move now, the empty, yeah, if I was to try and move the mesh, it wouldn't really do much. But if I'm going to move the empty, yeah, it's still not doing anything. And the reason is, I go back to my modifier. So I'm back to my cube, back to my modifier, and I'm going to change the mirror object, okay, to the empty. So it's in my drop down, empty. And now, as I move my empty, so I will select my empty, and now as I move it, the empty moves the object, so it's in a place just there. Yeah. And there you go. Oh, we have a sofa. Yeah. Okay, quickly, just 2 minutes before we go, I'm going to put arms on the sofa. Cushions on the arms of the sofa, rather. So, I'm going to select this. I'm going to make them quick and easy because we're running for time. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to slide it over, preferably so it's on top of the arm. And then I'm going to get rid of our array modifier, yeah, that we made earlier, non-destructive workflow, so I can just get rid of it. Yeah. Let me just get rid of it. And then I go to object mode, edit mode, and Just slide it on over. Yeah. And the last step for today is I'm going to take that one there, that cube I've just made, go back into object mode, and I will add a mirror. Yeah, so I'm back in here. Add the mirror modifier again. Yeah, now I've got that. All I need to do is I need to make the mirror back to our empty we made before. Yeah, and set it to the Y coordinate. And there you go. One sofa, two arms, and we could go through and texture it, which we will do, but we'll do some more on modifiers next week, and we will make some more wonderful stuff, because there's lots and lots of things you can do with modifiers. But remember, modifiers, non-destructive workflow. So what I'm going to do now, just before you go, I'm going to do it all over again and make a 4-cushion couch. Well, I don't need to, because all I need to do is I need to go back through. So first of all, I need this one. Going to make it to 4. Dunk. There's 4 for those. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to make it 4 for those. I'm going to take this one. And I'm going to make it 4 for those. Notice. And I'm going to take the back. And make 4 for those. And then my arm and my cushion's in the wrong place. So I'm going to select my empty. And I'm going to move it over like so. And now you've got a 4-cushion couch. See? Nice and easy, nice and quick. That was it for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And apologies for the pause of stream and a slightly late arrival. Next week, we'll be doing some more on modifiers. This week, have a play with your modifiers if you get a chance. And enjoy your SL. You know where to find me.